I'm making a goal for myself to end the year. I'm just going to ask two questions, two very important questions about the teams and the matchups that we are all glued to for Week 17. And we started the show in the AFC North. Let's stay there with a friend. Big Dolphins-Ravens game on the slate. As I just told you, lots at stake, not just for those two teams, but for the conference at large. SARAH Ellison, you're crushing it. Ravens Vault co-host, saw your thing with Brady, loved every second of it. Phil Simms was on my show yesterday, a legend, two-time Super Bowl champ, Mr. MVP. He picked the Ravens to win this game. Darius Speller, who loves Florida, loves Miami, he picks the Ravens. Hamilton, there's so much momentum. There's depth, there's confidence. If there was one concern you might have about Baltimore in this matchup, what is it?
Hey, before I get to that, Kay, I just have to say, you just talked about Joe Flacco. I have a Super Bowl ring because of one Joe Flacco. He once a Raven, always a Raven, but right now he's a Brown. So we cannot celebrate these victories. He is the enemy right now. Now, on to your question about the concern. I'd say coming into it, the Ravens are coming off of a very emotional, huge win from across the country on Christmas night against the San Francisco 49ers. The defense was just on fire. Everything was clicking right. So the question is, do they have the energy? Could this be, can they muster it up again? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Can they muster it up? But I think they can, because the #1 seed is on the line, and you better believe they want this first round bye, home field advantage, everything. They are locked in.
Now, there's great defenses on both sides. I think everybody, we have the electric offenses. We have who's going to do what. I'm actually going to ask Deshaun Jackson, which team, if he could go into one locker room and play for one of these teams and the offenses in this matchup, where would he go? I'm very curious. He's, of course, has some past and some experience with Lamar Jackson, none with Tua, but I can't imagine he doesn't want to be out there with Tyreek Hill. I'm going to ask him that. So the offenses, they're covered. When it comes to the Monk and Fangio chess match, who wins it and why?
Well, when you talk about having chess pieces, right? I feel like Monken has an unfair advantage. When you have Lamar Jackson, it's like you traded in a couple pawns for a few extra queens. So Monken has all these queens with all these moves that he can make. Kay, Monken has unlocked a side of Lamar that I think fans always knew was there. Steve Young was just on my show last week about last year this time. He was blasting the Ravens for not developing Lamar and his passing game. He knew it was always in there. Lamar knew it was always in there. Louisville fans always knew it was in there. It's unlocked. So now it's more difficult to guard him. Now, Fangio, as we all know, Lamar is 20-1 against the NFC, right? So it's partly because they don't see him often. Fangio used to work for the Ravens. He played there. He knows Lamar. But does he know this side of Lamar that Monken has unlocked? That is the question. So I think Monken has the leg up with several queens on his side to play with.
Several queens is a perfect way to put it. You are crushing it. Thank you, SARAH Ellison. You guys check her out on Ravens Vault. And I will say, and I'm not just like giving myself some credit here, in our morning meeting yesterday, and I hadn't slept all night, or SARAH left already? I want to tell SARAH this. SARAH, I was like, you know what? Is Monken getting enough credit? We were preparing our questions for Phil. What did I want to ask Phil? And I was like, I really think I didn't want to ask Phil because I don't want it to take credit away from Lamar and his MVP bid and everything he's doing, because I think people love to take credit away from him. So I didn't want to ask it. But I did have the thought of what role does Todd play in all of this? And has he gotten enough love? And it's really nice to hear. You're basically saying he might be the key to getting this win and locking up the 1 seed against the Dolphins.
I think he's just empowered Lamar. I think it's always been in there, and he's empowering him. He's letting him take more control at the line of scrimmage, make audibles, just listening to the plays that Lamar wants to run. So I think he is just letting Lamar blossom in a way that hasn't happened in the past.
Okay, but those are our two things with SARAH Ellison of the Ravens Vault, and he somehow has gotten him to limit any turnovers and mistakes, which we've seen those splits from the beginning of the season until now as they try to lock up that 1 seed against the Dolphins. Thanks, SARAH. Happy New Year to you, and let's hit the next game on the NFL calendar, Lions-at-Cowboys. Woo, RJ Ochoa, editor of Blogging the Boys, sorry. What could be more exciting than this game being at home? When I'm looking at Dallas, I'm saying, where are they playing? Everyone's making this huge story of it. Let's get into it. Everybody must be happy the game is back in the D, but let's not pretend that just means they're going to dominate a Lions team that is on fire. They're top of the class in the NFC. You said the Cowboys defense is looking like a bottom 10 unit. How can Dan Quinn, DQ, and that defense contain what is, I believe, a top 3 Lions offense this weekend?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a big night. Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor, and I think everyone's hoping the vibes from that translate into a successful Cowboys performance at home, which they're known for. The reality is they are playing a bit poorly on defense. I know they have a reputation that kind of precedes them. 4 games ago, the Cowboys didn't force the Seahawks to punt a single time. That was a game in their building. They did force 3 turnovers against the Eagles, but you could argue some of that is luck. They obviously got run all over against the Bills, and last week stood a little bit taller against the Dolphins, but still were unable to kind of get things done when they mattered the most. I think the answer is obviously always, something that starts and ends with Micah Parsons. You mentioned Myles Garrett, the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. That has been Micah for the last few weeks, and it really feels like he needs to have a huge Herculean type performance. Another Deron Bland pick six certainly wouldn't hurt. The Cowboys are obviously at their best when they're able to get to the quarterback and stymie him and turn the ball over. That's something that hasn't been happening as of late. They barely got to Tua last week, and they hope to change those fortunes against Jared Goff.
And hopefully they can. It would be huge. But I do want to ask you, beyond just this matchup, is there any reason that you've seen, as you're closer to this team than I am and the most of us are, anything that you're seeing that gives you reason to think this team can get it done on the road come playoffs?
I know that they got trounced in Buffalo, and you could argue that some of what happened early, was a result of some questionable penalties and some self-induced errors that can be corrected, things like personal fouls. And while they did lose on Christmas Eve against Miami, they were put in a position, Dak Prescott and the offense where they had the ball in their hands and they had to go down the field and put together a big time drive to take the lead. And they did. And, they ultimately lost because they were up against a really talented offense and Mike McDaniel and Tua and Tyreek Hill and everybody. But I think that was a box that people were waiting to see be checked, is to kind of go live up to that specific moment. And so the fact that happened, granted in a losing effort, I think does provide some optimism for the tough places they'll play in the postseason.
Bonus question for you. Do you think Micah Parsons will come in my show in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, Micah likes to do shows. So if you're as pleasant as you are, I think you stand a very, very solid chance. He's quite popular. And I think especially if he wins Defensive Player of the Year, he's going to have no issue kind of bringing that around and showing it off.
Yeah, I hope he does. I think I might have met him just once. I don't know him very well, so I definitely want to meet him. And he's going to have a huge role this week against the Lions, of course, at home, and then down in the playoffs. We appreciate you, RJ. Happy New Year to you. Congrats on all the success and all the things you've got coming your way for working your ass off in this crazy ass industry. Okay, let's keep it going here. And let's talk about what's going on. Kansas City Bengals. This is a big one. Let's talk about it with a host for Bleacher Report. She covers the Chiefs for the KC Sports Network. Hayley, how are you? We've got Hayley joining us. Hayley Lewis, how are you?
Girl, I'm good. I don't have a bowl of eggs though, like you. I'm kind of jealous.
It's so weird. I think it's like a Polish parent thing. They're hard boiled. It's not like she's gave me like raw eggs like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. I'm seeing these tweets of people. I'm not like raw dogging them. Everybody, calm down. Okay, Kansas City. Let's get to it, Hayley. Kansas City. They're struggling on offense. I'm not used to this. I mean, I am in an era that didn't include Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to Travis Kelce. They've lost 5 of the last 8. I'm looking for answers. Everybody has a take. Kurt Warner, Phil Simms, there's sloppiness, Dante Hall, and, the drops, no Bieniemy, change the offense. What is the answer to you when I say what is plaguing the Kansas City Chiefs on O?
Girl, you're looking for answers here in Kansas City. We're looking for them too. That's the unfortunate part, is that no one's able to give you this tangible solution. And I think that's what people are really wanting as a fan base, is be able to latch onto something, give something a little bit of blame. And it really hasn't been anything except for this culmination of all these issues, right? You see Mahomes being uncharacteristic, like you see a lack of execution, and then it turns into frustration. We see the throwing of helmets, all this stuff going on the sideline. And really what I think it comes down to is just playing sound football and not being able to do that on the field like they have in years past. So all these things are coming together. Yeah, you could blame the wide receivers. You could say the fact that EB's not here. You could blame it on Nagy if you want to. You could say Mahomes isn't what he's hyped up to be. But really what it comes down to is the fact that they aren't capitalizing on the simple plays that they know they can do. They have the talent, and you know that as well. They have the talent, majority of it returning from last season. So the reason for me, I think, is maybe just this lack of discipline, lack of execution, because they have the ability to get it done. It's just not happening.
That comes down to Bieniemy. I, like a month ago, asked Deshaun Jackson, who'll be joining the show today, is it Bieniemy? And he was very quick to say, no, because he's such an Andy Reid guy, right, from his days back in Philly. And he goes, saying that it's on Bieniemy, sort of, he didn't say this, but his answer said it, that it would take away from what Andy Reid means. Andy Reid saying he needs to help Mahomes. When I hear discipline, I hear Bieniemy. When I hear, them self-sabotaging. It just seems like the distraction, it might be a culmination, like you're saying. It's crazy. But they do have this. I will be super worried if they can't get something done against a Bengals defense who, I love the Bengals. I love Coach Lou. But the facts are the facts. They're 31st right now. They're 31st on D. They should be able to get it going. Now, when it comes to Kansas City's defense, this is a second-ranked unit. They're tops, but they're getting tested by Jamar Chase on the field this week as he comes back. And also him doing what I hate that he did and telling reporters the following.
Yeah, we know what we're capable of. Everyone in the league does. That's why KC double is the way they do.
What stands out about that secondary for the Chiefs?
If I'm being honest, nothing. They just know how to play us. They know the leverages. They know what splits we in. They just know what we gonna do, certain movements. They throw a little double-doubles at us to stop the two best players on the outside, and that's all they do. I mean, it's not really like they got a Jalen Ramsey on these squads, you know what I'm saying? So, not much.
Okay, Haley, he's saying nobody stands out. Let's fix the situation. Who stands out on that defense to you?
I mean, first off, here's the thing. When you're talking trash, don't do it after the Chiefs just stomped all over the little Burrowhead quote that they had going into the AFC title game last year. I don't think it's the wisest thing to do. He knows exactly what he's doing. You know it too. He's given them that bulletin board material. Coach Reed hates when players feed into that kind of stuff. But have you not heard of L'Jarius Sneed? Have you not heard of Trent McDuffie? They have been locking up the secondary. And I know they're banged up a little bit right now in the secondary. Does Chase play? Does Sneed play? I mean, that's going to factor into this one, but you're fueling the fire. And as a Bengals, player, I don't see why you would do that. You're going up against a Chiefs defense that has been stout this season, the best under the Patrick Mahomes era. Why would you stir the pot? I mean, my man, do what you need to do. But if you come at the king, right, you better not miss.
Yeah, he also hasn't. He's not 100% healthy. I believe he was a limited participant in practice on Thursday. He's got a joint sprain, but he also did say, which I love, that he enjoys this back and forth between the Bengals and the Chiefs. That he thinks that they're the best, talkers in the business, and that they like to go after each other, which I quite enjoy. So we'll see. I think he was coming after the lack of a corner more than anything else, but I think that there's a lot of baggage from the Burrowhead stuff last year. Haley, we so appreciate you. You are crushing with my guy, BJ Kissel. What you guys are doing is absolutely insane. And not only, of course, with Bleacher Report, but KC Sports Network. So, Haley Lewis, we appreciate it. And we will maybe hopefully talk to you in 2024.
I appreciate you, girl. Hopefully talking to you then.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe right here. Do it now for the latest from Up and Adams.